All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday. Happy Friday to everyone out there. November 22nd. We got 8 games on today's NBA slate. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about either plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, keep an eye on the final plays. You can find more information about that in the pinned comment. Absolutely free. Go ahead and check those out. Everything we talk about in the video, I like, but what I'm actually rolling with myself, those will be in the final plays. In terms of how we did yesterday, we did bounce back with a nice little 2-0 night. There we go. 2-0 with RJ Barrett over 27.5 points plus assists, and then Cade Cunningham over 15.5 rebounds plus assists. We shall take the cha-ching there. But honestly, the big news here is Jacob in the ride of the day. Let's pump in some crowd noise for the man. We got Cade Cunningham over 8.5 assists, and that marks Jacob's 6th ride of the day cash in a row. No one has hit 6 before. We had multiple people at 5. Now Jacob is the all-time leader in terms of how many days in a row he has cashed the ride of the day. So shout out to Jacob. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag or ROTD in the comments. Drop your favorite play. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day. You get a shout out in the next video. I also shout you out over on my Twitter/X and on the Guy Boston Sports site. If you win, we continue to ride with your play and let you go on a little bit of a streak, just like Jacob is right now. If you lose, we do got to talk about it, but shout out to Jacob for his next one in a row here. Make sure, Jacob, to get your play in the comment today, and it's got to be something that at the time of posting it there, that is within minus 150, so that people can ride on board with it. But let's go ahead and jump into today's slate, guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We also have, by the way, some news about the main channel here. We're posting some NBA content over there, so I'll link that in the pinned comment as well. It's not the picks content or prediction content like this. It's more so, I guess, kind of having fun with recapping yesterday's type of, what happened in the NBA and whatnot. So go ahead and check that out if you are interested. But let's go ahead and dive into today's slate here. We got Philadelphia taking on Brooklyn to start things off. Paul George listed out for Philadelphia, and we got a bunch of game time decisions here that are actually important for Brooklyn. 3 starters: Cam Thomas, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Nick Claxton also listed as game time decisions. So we'll keep an eye on that. This is obviously a big number, but I keep saying it, and I keep continually being wrong about it, that Philadelphia will click at some point. I like the fact that Maxey called out Embiid. I like the fact that Embiid's getting fired up. He did have 35 in his last game, right after all this came out. So to me, this is probably a spot in which I'm hoping the Sixers look good just for the entertainment value, but in reality, this is most likely a Brooklyn spot if we look at this from a data perspective. Both teams have, I guess, what would put them above the other, but one strong thing for Brooklyn, and I do believe this is a strong thing here, is that they are a better team from the perimeter. So far this season, 6th most points from 3. And then Philadelphia, not exactly the worst defensive team from the perimeter, but kind of middle of the pack, whereas you have Philadelphia, who really isn't scoring a lot from 3. Over the last 10 games, though, they're still shooting a top 10 frequency from 3, which doesn't seem like it makes sense, right? And then you go up and look at Brooklyn's defense, and Brooklyn's been very good at defending the three-point line this season. So I think that that's going to be the distinguishing factor here. That makes me lean Brooklyn, but like I said, I wanted to look at Philadelphia because I think they're going to click at some point, but no Paul George, and the one thing that I think separates them is the perimeter game, that type of thing. What I will say is that if Nick Claxton doesn't play, if Finney-Smith doesn't play, Cam Thomas doesn't play, then this is probably becomes an obvious Philly spot in which I do think Embiid kind of can dominate, and or Maxey can look good as well. So that's obviously a big factor. But if those guys play and the only injury is Paul George out, also Kyle Lowry out, then I think this is a decent spot for Brooklyn. But we'll see with the injuries. In terms of what we have from a total here, I don't mind a peek at an under. Now, 218 is definitely a low number. No one's arguing that, right? And they've hit, I want to say, underneath this line when playing each other plenty in the past. So I do think that is kind of good. And if Cam Thomas doesn't play, the pace could slow down, you know what I mean? And Embiid's back in there. He's going to score more 2s and 3s. So though 218 is a low number, I think that this thing drops throughout the day. So I don't mind an under in that spot. And then nothing major. I guess I could consider some Embiid looks if Nick Claxton doesn't play, but overall, probably nothing major in the player prop department. Moving on, we have Washington taking on Boston. There's really no need for me to want to look at Washington on this side, so I guess by default to look at the Celtics. They're just so much better, but that's still such a massive number, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that, and that's just me being transparent, I think that we get to, 15.5 either, but that's probably where I would go if I had to look at this. From a total perspective, I don't necessarily think it's going to be the most fast-paced game in the world. This Celtics team, kind of surprisingly, playing at the fourth slowest pace over the last 10 games, and I credit a lot of that to their defense. Now, the thing is that they're going to score so many points, and that allows teams to really try to catch up and whatnot. We saw it against the Cavs, right? That thing was pacing under, and then they end up finishing over just because the Celtics scored so much, the Cavs really had to press. So I understand that. But Washington, from an offensive perspective, the worst efficient team in the league so far this year. In the last 3 games, the third worst. I don't care if they play at a fast pace. Where are their points going to come from, right? They like to shoot from either the 3 or the restricted area. Yeah, the Celtics kind of stink at the restricted area, but who's going to be scoring at the restricted area for them? I don't really think that they come by a lot of points here. Last time they played, this is a 224 finish, so well under that number, and it did involve the Celtics going off. They scored nearly, 123 or something, and Washington barely got over 100. So I don't have any reason to think that that might not be the case this time. So give me the Celtics as well as the under. But the main spot that I might look at here is consideration of, I would say, Jaylen Brown's over 23.5 points. You can see here 2 of his last 3 against Washington. He didn't look all that great against the Cavs, but look at him this season. When he doesn't hit this line, he bounces back with a nice spot. So he has 3 of his, or I guess I should say 2 of his highest scoring nights out of the 4 higher scoring nights that he has come after not hitting this line. So 17 against the Cavs. It's not like he shot terribly, right? 41% from the field. He's only like 44 this year, but didn't really shoot all that great. And we saw that here again, 31% against Milwaukee, right? Bounces back with 37. And what I'll note here is that bounce back spot was against Atlanta, who's a fast-paced team. Washington likes to play at a fast pace too, so Jaylen Brown definitely a consideration for his spot tonight. Now, if you're worried about the blowout and whatnot, maybe we look at something like a first half points for him, or something like that. Maybe you could throw him with like Celtics money line in a same-game parlay or something if you're worried about that to try and bring that number down, which makes sense. I think that, regardless, even when he played Washington last time, right, he did hit this line. He had 27, and that was nearly a blowout as well. So I think Jaylen Brown could be a look today. All right, Milwaukee taking on Indiana. Last year, this would have been a phenomenal game, right? But now you have 2 teams that we don't know exactly what they're doing. Milwaukee's 6-9 on the season, as is Indiana. What I will say is Indiana's 2-7 on the road. Milwaukee actually a winning record here at home, 5-3, and they've won 4 of their last 5 games, and those 5 games came at home. The one loss was in Charlotte, so Milwaukee definitely 2 different beasts, right? One's a little puppy dog you can pet, and one's kind of scary when they're at home. Now, Indiana also is kind of at the, not rock bottom. I thought they were putting some things together. Now they just have not looked all that great. They're losing close games. They just don't seem like they're firing on all cylinders, right? So this might not be the best time to get Indiana, especially at a number that's just 5.5. So I do look at the favorites here in Milwaukee. Now, Giannis is listed as a game time decision. Just like we talked about with Brooklyn. If all those guys miss, I don't like Brooklyn to look and try and get those 6 points, right, and cover it. Same thing with Milwaukee. This 5.5, I think without Giannis would look pretty damn big. But overall, the way Indiana's playing, I can't really trust them. Milwaukee should probably win the 3-point battle in terms of offense. Indiana loves to shoot at the rim and is very good at shooting at the rim, but Milwaukee's been very good at defending the rim so far this season, which is crazy because it didn't exactly start like that. But now the rim and in the paint, this last 10 games, 58.5% field goal percentage against in the restricted area. That is really, really good. And then in the paint, so restricted area to the foul line, essentially 37.7%. So I think that's where Milwaukee kind of wins this one. Now, one thing that I could consider instead of Milwaukee minus the points, and this is with or without Giannis, a potential look at Indiana's team total under, because that total is so dang high there at 237.5. I could see us getting some value here for, Indiana, maybe like under 119.5 or something like that, or under 118.5. So definitely keep an eye on the final plays. That is something that we're considering. I do like the idea of Milwaukee's defense separating them here, but even if Milwaukee loses the game, say, right? I think that they're still going to make it really hard for Indiana to score how they like to score, which would be in the paint. In terms of player props here, nothing so far. I'm kind of waiting on some injury news with Giannis there. Also, Ben Shepherd listed as a game time decision for Indiana. So I guess nothing all that crazy that I'm liking right now, but we can obviously add some. Keep an eye on the final plays. If we do add anything on the site in the post, and if we didn't talk about it in the video, I'll give a little blurb as to why I like it, so you at least have some rationale and reasoning, right? Chicago taking on Atlanta. This is a high total there, 244.5. Might be the highest. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but that may be the highest one we've seen so far this year. And I think I've seen a couple 245s out there. So this thing is moving up, and obviously it makes a little bit of sense. Why, right? You have the number 1 pace team in Atlanta going up against the number 3 pace team in Chicago, who, for the most part, and that's the last 10 games, Chicago, for the majority of the start of the season, was the number 2 team. And then both of these teams defensively bottom 10 in terms of efficiency. This is probably a nice spot for Atlanta, though, I would say. Atlanta's going to have the ability to go and try and score in the paint. Chicago is dead last at preventing teams from scoring in the paint. So the way I'd look at this, and we've already seen this before too, right? And Atlanta actually dropped the game, but the way we saw the game going kind of made sense. Chicago won 125-113, but I liked how the Hawks were going to score, and that happened. We had Clint Capella, I think it was over 9.5 and over 10.5 points. He finished with 20 points and 8 of 14 from the field. He was just behind Trae Young, and I want to say maybe Daniels in terms of field goal attempts in the game, which is not like him, right? So I think that we could have a Clint Capella spot here as well. Let's see if we can find his line, an updated line really quickly. Let's go ahead and jump in here. Clint Capella, in terms of his updated points line, because that is what I would think about. 11.5, yeah, I really don't mind it. Look at him against the Bulls. Absolutely crushes them. They're allowing the 5th most this season to the to the center position. Chicago is, and you can get some alternate lines out there too if you want. These are juice, but over on Prize Picks you can get a nice Green Goblin there at 10 points. But I would just probably roll with what we have right here. Go out there and get 12 for us, Clint. So there's a player prop. In terms of a total, I have absolutely nothing to say about the total. This is high for a reason. Both these teams stink defensively. I want to say under because I'm like contrarian-minded in the fact that that's such a high number. No way they score that much, but neither team plays good defense, and they play so fast. So, yeah, give me Clint Capella's over in points as well as Atlanta in this spot, but probably not stretching or reaching for much outside of that. One injury to note, Kobe White, also game time decision. That's huge if we do like Atlanta, which we do. So, yeah, and then a secondary player prop, maybe considering Jalen Johnson as well. But Jalen Johnson, in spots where he should be good, his lines always get really, really inflated. Like right now, his points line is at 18.5, which actually I don't mind. I think I saw earlier 19.5, but now maybe I didn't because 18.5 for plus 100. That could be a consideration as well. He had 20 last time he played the Bulls. So Johnson and Capella, 2 player prop spots that I think are good, but I might just roll with Hawks today. I think that this is a decent spot for the Hawks in a time in which, based on how they've been playing, they could really use some consistency. They have won 3 of their last 5, but nothing really major, right? They beat the Celtics, they beat Sacramento, they have some quality wins, but they're catching the Bulls at somewhat of a low here and in a revenge spot. Pelicans taking on the Warriors. Warriors, obvious, and they should be huge favorites in this one. This is a Pelicans team that just like decimated with injuries for starters, but even still outside of that, like when they weren't as injured, I was still trying to figure out like where are they in terms of an identity? What type of team are they and whatnot? Now, we've seen these two teams play twice already, and Golden State beat them badly twice. 124-106 on October 29th, and the next day 104-89. This Pelicans team has lost 9 of their last 10 games. Their only win, I think we can call it a fluke, right? It was against Denver, and was Jokic even in that game? I think that was either the first, or I think that might have been the first game that Jokic sat out with his personal reason. So it's like this Pelicans team realistically should be like 0-10 in their last 10 here. They're still dealing with a lot of injuries. Looks like we have on the injury report CJ McCollum doubtful. Good that he's potentially coming back and whatnot. Brandon Ingram now game time decision, and he's not doubtful or probable, so questionable. And then Missy. So it's like every person on their team is injured. Like if we go through this injury report, right? Hawkins game time decision, Ingram game time decision, Missy game time decision, McCollum game time decision, Alvarado out, Herb Jones out, DeJounte Murray out, Zion Williamson out. absurd, right? Now, I will say Steph Curry is listed as probable in this spot. If he doesn't play, I don't even know if they need them. I probably don't touch the Warriors -10, but it's a big enough number that I might not be all over it anyways. Where I would actually go with looks in this spot, actually, we'll start with the total first. 222. I would probably look at a Golden State team total over, and that's the only thing. I think that they can score both inside and outside against this Pelicans team, who is not all that great. But I'm focusing on the inside here. I think that there could be a couple decent looks. Now, his minutes are obviously down from when he was playing really well, but I think that given the fact that we could see some blowout, could see some easy offense from Golden State, I don't mind a peek here at Jonathan Kuminga. Now, it all comes down to his minutes, because you could see here a direct correlation to his minutes and his production, right? When the minutes drop, his points drop, which should not be all that crazy overall. But on the season, when he plays, let's say 26 minutes, right? He's hitting every single game here. In the last 2 games against the Pelicans, would you look at that? This season, he played minutes-wise 28 and 27, and he had 17 and 16 points. We're only looking for 13 from him tonight. So again, it's totally minutes-based, but I like Jonathan Kuminga. And then I guess one hot hand here of the Warriors. I like Andrew Wiggins as well. Why do I like these guys? Because I already mentioned Golden State should be able to score from outside and inside, but if this turns into sort of a slugfest, not a slugfest, a blowout type of thing, I'd like the idea that these guys are just getting easy points at the rim, and those are the 2 guys that are going to do it. In the last 10 games here, Kuminga, even with his minutes kind of down, right, still averaging the most restricted area field goal attempts on the team for the Warriors, and then he's second, actually he's tied with Wiggins in terms of in the paint field goal attempts, so both those guys should be feeling pretty cushiony down there. So yeah, if minutes come with Kuminga, I like it. We might risk it and roll with it. And then Wiggins, I hope he just kind of continues being hot in a sense. Pause. All right, Houston taking on Portland here. In terms of the injury report, there's going to be a lot to monitor here because, I'll say it, psycho alert alarm. I might be liking Portland with that big point. Do I think they're going to win the game or whatnot? No, I'm not that crazy, but I will say it's still worthy of a psycho alert alarm the way the Houston Rockets are playing, that we might be leaning towards Portland, but it's going to come down to injuries here. Simon's game time decision, Henderson game time decision, and DeAndre Ayton game time decision. All of those are crucial for me to want to potentially roll with this. And I'll tell you why. Now, Houston, like I said, they've been cruising. Honestly, Portland not looking all that terrible either. They beat Minnesota twice in back-to-back games. They beat Atlanta, and then they cover against OKC a couple nights ago, right? Now you have Houston, who has won 8 of their last 10 games, and I give them credit for it. They're playing really, really good and really well, I should say, to the grammar police out there. But the one thing that I like is that this Portland team covers the rim fairly well. Now, I think on DeAndre Ayton needs to be down there to help this out and whatnot, but these are 2 teams that like to score at the basket, attempt to shoot at the basket more so than they do from, 3 and whatnot. And I don't necessarily think that Portland's going to be easy to score on down there. And then on the flip side, I think Portland, who loves to shoot at the rim, should have a not success in the sense that Houston is bad at it, but enough success that if you're going 2-point shot, 2-point shot, 2-point shot, 2-point shot, it's going to be hard for Houston to pull away and win by 12, 13, 15 points, right? Or should be, in a sense, in my dumb brain. I also don't think that this is the worst defense overall for Portland. Again, we sounded the psycho alert alarm. I know how crazy I can get, but yeah, this is a spot in which I think Portland keeps this one close and a lower scoring game than 222. So give me Portland plus that big number as well as the under here. Portland 9-5-1 against the spread this year. I will say this though, Houston has been dominant at home. They're 7-2 straight up at home, and then even against the spread straight up this year, overall this year, not straight up, 11-5. So if you're on Houston, don't let this dummy big mouth talk you off of it. I just can see a lane for Portland to keep this game close if their starters are healthy there. That's going to be a big if overall. No player props, so I think that I've done enough damage on this game to like Portland and the under. All right, Denver taking on Dallas. I feel like some wins being taken out of the sails in this game. Well, Jokic may play. He's questionable. I don't think he was at shoot-around yesterday. We'll see how today progresses, but Jokic, this Denver team, I'm not going to get fooled by one win against Memphis. This year, this Denver team stinks without Jokic, okay? But then to flip over to the Dallas side of things, Luka Doncic isn't playing either, or he isn't playing definitely. So if Jokic plays, then all of a sudden that's a big boost to Denver. So this is tough. What I will say is Dallas's ability with Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson on the floor compared to what Denver has to go through without Jokic, and never mind the fact that Aaron Gordon's out too, I think are way different stories. Like, I think this Dallas team can can survive without Luka. In fact, let's get those numbers to make sure that I'm right. Okay, so their point differential is about 8 off last season, which is obviously still a decent chunk, actually about 6 off, but that's less than the Denver one. So I guess I'm over, it's being more hyper, I'm over, exaggerating, I guess, how how Luka's not being in the floor doesn't impact the Mavericks. We know that it's going to impact them, but I'm more or less saying it's way more of a blow for Jokic to be out in a sense, right? Because I wanted to fact check myself there. I feel like it's kind of in limbo. I don't think saying that they're way better without Luka compared to Denver being without Jokic, like it's kind of just, a little bit better, okay? So we'll put it that way. But overall, yeah, getting 3.5 points against a Jokic-less Nuggets, I don't care if you don't have Luka. Maybe I'll be eating my words and I'm the dumb one in the room, but to me, Kyrie, Klay Thompson, and some of the other guys on that squad, the way that they're playing, they have, 3 straight wins, one of those being against OKC, right? I think that it's just a decent enough spot for them. Whereas Denver, yeah, maybe you can look at the argument and be like, oh, well, they just had a good game against Memphis. Yeah, this Dallas team's a decent defense this year, right? 7th best defensive efficiency team, 6th fewest points allowed in the last 3 games, 3rd fewest points allowed. And that's great because they do play at a fast pace, and so does Denver this year, which is weird, but I think the better defense will shine through. And Denver, not exactly the best defense this year, especially without Jokic kind of being the anchor there. From a total perspective, I just kind of mentioned it too. I think that this could be an under spot, but potentially a look at the Nuggets team total under more so than I guess I would say the under overall, because I don't want Dallas to have to play slowly to potentially also win this game or cover the 3.5, right? Like, to me, it's like, yeah, I mean, we might see an under for the Nuggets side of things, but let the Dallas Mavericks go out there and score 200 if they need to. So I think the way I would play this, I'm clearly pretty big on Denver today. If Jokic doesn't play, I like their under in terms of their team total, which you can get at like 118.5 right now for decent-ish odds. And in terms of player props, I would obviously look at Kyrie or Klay or something, but without Jokic, there's so many stats to go around. You might say, hey, yeah, that's a good thing. It's like, but obviously these lines will be inflated because of that as well. So sometimes we just don't touch games in which the first game after their star is, ruled out for an extended period of time. Clippers taking on Sacramento here. Looks like Sacramento should be fairly healthy. Obviously, DeMar DeRozan had been banged up. Sabonis had been banged up. De'Aaron Fox seemed like he had picked up a little bit of weight. He went off scoring. I'm not sure if he still is, but as of 2 nights ago, he was the leading scorer in the NBA, right? But overall, here we have the Clippers getting 3 at home. I think you can go either way in this spot. Now, the Clippers actually have a couple decent wins here in their last couple under their belt. Golden State, Orlando, both in close wins, but they were underdogs in both those. They won them outright. Sacramento has kind of been up and down, up and down, up and down. What I will say to that is they've been off for 4 days now, and they finished on a down. They lost to Atlanta, so if this up and down thing continues, and it literally has for 7 straight games, they've gone loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Now it's what do they do for? So I could see someone getting to either side in this one. I'm going to lean towards Sacramento. They're healthy now, and I've been liking the Clippers this year too, so that's why it's kind of hard for me to look at this. I think that the Clippers are fairly underrated, especially defensively, but now people are starting to pick up on that. But I think Sacramento here, fully healthy, should be able to bounce back and get this win. And the Clippers are really good at stopping points in the paint. They're decent at the perimeter as well, but Sacramento doesn't like to shoot from the paint. They're more of a mid-range team so far this year, or kind of foul line extended. So, yeah, I think that there could be some soft spots in the defense there. Yeah, I don't mind the spot here for Sacramento. But like I said, I'm not trying to throw it down your throat and whatnot, because I could see a lane for the Clippers as well. If Sacramento wins this game, I think that they put up a decent number and they kind of beat this good Clippers defense. So I'd look at either the over in this one or the team total over. And then same thing we kind of mentioned with Dallas, with these guys coming back on the line but whatnot. I'm not exactly sure where to go with player props, to be completely honest, just because we do have some other guys playing. I would maybe look at Sabonis, because I think that he gets right back in there and he's going to be the main cog. I would also potentially on the Clippers side of things look at something like James Harden or even I guess no, Norman Powell's been out, right? So not him. Yeah, I'd look at someone that shoots threes for the Clippers, but we clearly haven't really dug much into that. But guys, we'll add anything to the final plays if we do find anything. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 24. You made it to the end of the video. Thank you guys very, 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 very much. And yeah, so far so good in the NBA, coming off of a nice little night last night, 2-0 after a reverse dustpan the night before. So let's keep that momentum going. Let's have a good Friday, into a good weekend, into a good season, all that jazz. But that's all I have for you in today's video. We'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.